Hello everyone, welcome back. The medical motion of Mazen Nnamdi Kanu has been rejected by the judge. Watch this video to the end to see and hear how it was rejected.
So you have this urgent request from Nnamdi Kanu'S legal team. They need medical care for him, right? But the court's decision, it had absolutely nothing to do with his health. Nope. It all boiled down to one thing: timing. Let's break it down.
And that really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? What happens when a truly urgent medical need slams right into a packed court schedule? That's exactly what played out on September 15th. It's this classic showdown, a person's health on one side and, the slow, grinding gears of the justice system on the other.
All right, so first things first, what exactly was the request that kicked all of this off? To get what happened in court, you got to start with the motion they filed.
It was actually pretty straightforward. His lawyers filed a motion saying he needed urgent medical attention. They were asking for a transfer from where he's being held by the DSS over to the National Hospital in Abuja because, well, his health needs were becoming pretty pressing.
Okay, so now let's picture the scene. To really get what happened next, we need to go inside the Federal High Court in Abuja. Let's see who the main players were.
So you had three key figures in the room for this motion. The judge, Justice MUSA, was presiding. Then for Nnamdi Kanu, you had his counsel, Uchenna Njoku. And on the other side, representing the DSS, or the Department of State Services, was Adegboyega Awamolo.
But honestly, the who wasn't even the most important part of the story. It was the when. See, this hearing was happening on September 15th, the very last day of the court's annual vacation. And that one little detail, it changed everything. The judge basically said right from the get-go, folks, the clock is ticking.
So, okay, the clock's running down. What exactly was the problem the judge was up against? What was the big procedural headache?
Believe it or not, it all came down to a single number: 30. The judge, Justice LIMAN, basically said, look, I have over 30 cases on my schedule for today. I mean, can you imagine? That is a huge backlog for any judge, but especially when it's the last day and there's a hard stop.
And this chart really shows you how tough that situation was. You have more than 30 cases listed, but in reality, they only got through 6. Just 6. The gap between the to-do list and what was actually possible was just massive. No way to close it.
And the judge broke it down really clearly for everyone. It was a 4-step problem. First, you've got this insane docket of over 30 cases. Second, the reality is you can only hear a handful of them. Third, you've got this hard deadline. The vacation ends today. And that leads to the fourth point. There's a rule for what happens to all the unfinished business.
And this is the rule that sealed the deal. It's Section 46, subsection 8 of the Federal High Court Rules. And it's super specific. It says any case that isn't finished by the end of the court's vacation period has to be sent back to the chief judge for reassignment. So you see, the judge didn't really have a choice. His hands were tied by this procedure.
So the judge basically hits this procedural wall. How did the lawyers react to this? What did both sides have to say?
And here's where it gets interesting, because both sides kind of agreed on one thing. Both the judge and the lawyer for the DSS pointed a finger at the timing. They basically said, hey, if this application had been filed earlier, we probably would have gotten to it.
But even while saying it was filed late, the DSS counsel, Awomolo, made it really clear they were ready to go. He said, but we are ready to take the motion anytime, any day. So he's signaling, look, we're not the ones holding this up. We're ready, but we get that the court has its rules.
So, seeing how things were, Kanu's lawyer did the only thing he could do. He formally applied to just follow the rule and send the case back to the chief judge. And importantly, the DSS counsel didn't fight it. Everyone in the room knew procedure was in the driver's seat now.
Which brings us to the end of the day. So, after all that back and forth, what was the final ruling? And more importantly, what happened to that urgent medical request?
Well, the judge's final decision was exactly what the rules required. He ordered the case file to be sent back to the registry. The next step, it's now up to the chief judge to give the case to a new judge, since the vacation was officially over.
So at the end of the day, it was a clear win for procedure and a loss for urgency. We figured out who would hear the motion next, but that original critical question about Nnamdi Kanu'S health, that just got kicked down the road. It really makes you think, doesn't it? In a system that's so buried in its own rules and schedules, how many other urgent needs are just waiting for their turn in another court on another day?
Thanks for watching.
If you are coming across my channel for the first time, do well to subscribe, comment, like, and share to your loved ones.